The massive crystalline structure of the Galactic Space Council hung in the void like a frozen scream. Its translucent walls pulsed with bioluminescent patterns as representatives from across the galaxy gathered for what many believed would be humanity's final judgment. Admiral Zara Chen stood at the observation deck of the human embassy ship, her weathered hands gripping the rail as she watched the alien vessels converge. Each ship represented a civilization that had ruled the stars for millennia before humans had even discovered fire. The Vorthak Empire's massive dreadnoughts, bristling with quantum cannons. The ethereal collective's living ships that seemed to breathe in the vacuum of space. The mechanical precision of the Synthetic Alliance's geometric warships. "They're not even trying to hide their contempt," muttered Captain Marcus Rodriguez, Chen's tactical advisor. His cybernetic eye whirred as it analyzed the alien formations. "Look at those weapon signatures. They're not here for diplomacy." Chen's jaw tightened. Humanity had been part of the galactic community for barely 50 years, and already they were facing extinction. The charges were simple. Humans expanded too fast, fought too hard, and asked too many questions about things the elder races preferred to keep hidden. "Admiral," came a voice from behind them. Dr. Sarah Kim, humanity's leading physicist and the architect of their most classified project, approached with a tablet in her trembling hands. "The Council is ready to hear our final plea." "Final plea," Rodriguez spat, as if they haven't already made up their minds. The tablet in Kim's hands displayed readings that made no sense to conventional science. Dark matter signatures that shouldn't exist. Energy patterns that defied the fundamental laws of physics. For the past 5 years, humanity had been working on something that the galaxy's greatest minds had declared impossible. "The test results came back an hour ago," Kim whispered, her voice barely audible. "It works, Admiral. Against all logic. Against everything we know about physics, it actually works." Chen turned to face her, noting the mixture of terror and excitement in the physicist's eyes. "Are you certain? The prototype achieved full dark matter integration. We can manipulate the fabric of space-time itself." "But Admiral," Kim's voice cracked, "the power readings are off the charts. If we're wrong about the containment protocols, we could tear a hole in reality itself," Chen finished grimly. The communication system crackled to life. A voice that sounded like grinding stone filled the observation deck. The voice of High Arbiter Korvax of the Vorthak Empire. "Humans, your time for words has come. Present yourself before the Council for final judgment." Rodriguez's hand moved instinctively to his sidearm. 50 years of cooperation, and this is how they repay us? Chen straightened her uniform, the weight of humanity's future pressing down on her shoulders. "Dr. Kim, how long would it take to bring the dark matter ships online?" "With the new drives, 6 hours minimum. But Admiral, we've never tested them in combat conditions. The theoretical models suggest—" "Theory won't save us now," Chen interrupted. She activated her communicator. "All human vessels implement Protocol Omega. I repeat, Protocol Omega is now in effect." Across the human fleet, 1,000 questions erupted over the comm channels. Protocol Omega was theoretical, a last resort that many believed was nothing more than wishful thinking. "Admiral," Rodriguez said quietly, "if this doesn't work, then humanity will go down fighting," Chen replied. "Just like we always have." As they made their way to the shuttle bay, none of them noticed the strange ripples beginning to form in the space around the human ships. Dark matter, invisible to most sensors, was beginning to respond to technologies that shouldn't have existed. The galaxy was about to learn that humans had a talent for making the impossible possible. Chapter 2. The Trial of Humanity. The council chamber was a marvel of alien architecture, its dome-shaped ceiling displaying a real-time view of the galaxy itself. Thousands of representatives from hundreds of species sat in concentric circles, their forms ranging from the ethereal energy beings of the Luminar Confederation to the crystalline structures of the Silicon Quartz. Admiral Chen walked down the central aisle, her boots echoing in the vast space. Behind her, Captain Rodriguez and Dr. Kim flanked the small human delegation. The weight of countless alien eyes bore down on them, and Chen could feel the hostility radiating from the assembled representatives. At the center of the chamber sat the 5 members of the High Council, the most ancient and powerful beings in known space. High Arbiter Korvax of the Vorthak Empire dominated the center seat, his reptilian form encased in ceremonial armor that had witnessed the rise and fall of 100 civilizations. To his right sat ethereal Prime Yalith, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline shell. Her thoughts echoed directly into the minds of all present, carrying undertones of disappointment and disdain. Humans, Korvax's voice boomed across the chamber. You stand accused of violating the concordat of civilized species. How do you answer? Chen stepped forward, her voice carrying clearly despite the chamber's immense size. We answer that humanity has honored every treaty, every agreement made with this council. A ripple of what might have been laughter passed through the alien representatives. Korvax leaned forward, his predatory gaze fixed on the human admiral. Honor? You expand into territory claimed by others. You establish colonies on worlds already designated for elder species. You research technologies specifically forbidden by galactic law. We expand into unclaimed space, Chen replied firmly. We establish colonies on worlds deemed uninhabitable by other species, and we research technologies necessary for our survival in a hostile galaxy. Ethereal Prime Yalith's thoughts pressed against every mind in the chamber. The humans lie through omission. Show them what our deep space monitors have detected. The dome above them shifted, displaying sensor readings from across human space. Energy signatures that pulsed with unknown power, ships that seemed to bend space around them in impossible ways. Explain these readings, demanded Korvax. What are these anomalies in your fleet compositions? Dr. Kim stepped forward, her scientific mind overriding her fear. Those are experimental propulsion systems. Nothing more. Nothing more. The voice belonged to Archon Vex of the Synthetic Alliance, its mechanical tones carrying a hint of amusement. Our analysis suggests technology that manipulates dark matter itself. Such research was forbidden after the Andromeda incident. A chill ran through the chamber. The Andromeda incident, when an ancient civilization had tried to weaponize dark matter and accidentally collapsed an entire galaxy. It was the reason such research was banned. Chen felt sweat beating on her forehead. They knew. Somehow they had detected humanity's most classified project. The Andromeda incident destroyed trillions of lives, Korvax continued. The ban on dark matter manipulation is absolute, yet humans dare to tread this forbidden path. We're not weaponizing anything, Chen said, but her words sounded hollow even to her own ears. Yalith's thoughts pressed harder. Deception. We sense deception. The humans have built something that should not exist. Captain Rodriguez stepped forward, his hand resting on his sidearm. Are we on trial here, or are you simply looking for an excuse to eliminate a species you see as a threat? The chamber erupted in alien voices, growls, clicks, and telepathic static. Korvax slammed his staff against the floor, the sound echoing. Like thunder, silence, his voice carried the authority of eons. Human, your species has existed for mere moments compared to those assembled here. Do not presume to understand galactic politics. Maybe that's our advantage, Rodriguez shot back. We don't understand why research should be forbidden. We don't understand why some species get to decide the fate of others. We don't understand why the strong get to prey on the weak just because that's how it's always been done. The temperature in the chamber seemed to drop. Ancient beings that had ruled the galaxy since time immemorial were being lectured by a species that had only recently learned to leave their home planet. Korvax rose from his seat, his massive form casting a shadow over the human delegation. Your ignorance is not innocence, human. It is dangerous. You research forbidden technologies. You expand without permission. You question the natural order that has kept peace in this galaxy for millions of years. Peace? Chen laughed bitterly. You call this peace? The Vorthak Empire enslaves entire species. The ethereal collective conducts experiments on sentient beings. The Silicon Courts strip mine inhabited worlds. This isn't peace. It's control. The silence that followed was deafening. No species had ever dared to speak such truths before the High Council. Korvax's eyes glowed with fury. The verdict is clear. Humanity is a threat to galactic stability. The sentence is containment. Your species will be restricted to your home system. Your ships will be impounded. Your colonies will be evacuated. This is final. And if we refuse, Chen asked quietly, then you will be eliminated. Korvax replied. The choice is yours. Chen activated her communicator, her voice carrying to every human ship in the system. This is Admiral Chen. Execute Operation Dark Star. All vessels, prepare for immediate departure. Rodriguez grinned fiercely. I was hoping you'd say that. As alarms began to sound throughout the alien fleet, none of them noticed the space around the human ships beginning to ripple and bend in ways that defied physics itself. The real test was about to begin. Chapter 3. The Dark Matter Revolution Space. Itself seemed to hold its breath as the human ships began their transformation. Admiral Chen watched from the Council Chamber's viewing dome as impossible energies coursed through her fleet. The first to change was the UES Prometheus, humanity's prototype dark matter vessel. Its hull began to shimmer, then fade, as if the ship was slipping between dimensions. The very fabric of space-time warped around it, creating visual distortions that hurt to look at directly. By the void, whispered Archon Vex, the synthetic Alliance's representative. Its mechanical sensors were screaming warnings about energy readings that should have been impossible. They've actually done it. High Arbiter Korvax slammed his fist on the council table. Open fire! Destroy them before they can escape! The alien fleet responded immediately. Quantum cannons erupted in brilliant displays of destruction. Plasma. Beams carved through space. Antimatter torpedoes streaked toward the human vessels with the fury of dying stars. But something was wrong. The attacks passed through empty space where the human ships had been moments before. The UES Prometheus hadn't moved in any conventional sense. It had simply stepped sideways through dimensions that conventional physics said didn't exist. Impossible, breathed ethereal Prime Yalith, her crystalline form pulsing with agitation. Dark matter cannot be controlled at this scale. The energy requirements alone would... She was cut off as the Prometheus reappeared, not where it had vanished but directly behind the Vorthak flagship. The massive alien dreadnought, equipped with shields that could withstand the explosion of a small star, found itself defenseless against weapons that operated outside normal spacetime. The human ship didn't fire conventional weapons. Instead, it projected a field of controlled dark matter that simply pushed. The Vorthak flagship, 10 times larger than the human vessel, was shoved aside like a child's toy. All vessels. Admiral Chen's voice crackled over the communications. Dark matter drives are performing within acceptable parameters. Engaging tactical displacement. Captain Rodriguez couldn't help but grin as he watched the alien fleet's confusion. Dr. Kim, remind me to thank your entire research team if we survive this. Dr. Kim was staring at her instruments in wonder and terror. Marcus, these readings, we're not just manipulating dark matter. We're using it to access dimensions that we didn't even know existed. The power output is... She paused, double-checking her calculations. It's theoretically infinite. More human ships began to phase, in and out of normal space. The UES Defiance appeared inside the formation of Silicon Court vessels, its presence causing their crystalline hulls to resonate and crack. The UES Vengeance emerged from what appeared to be solid asteroid, revealing that it had been traveling through parallel dimensions where matter existed in different states. The alien fleet, composed of the most advanced warships in the galaxy, found themselves fighting an enemy that could attack from directions that didn't exist, using weapons that operated outside the laws of physics as they understood them. This is madness, Korvax roared. Dark matter manipulation on this scale should have torn their ships apart. Unless, said a quiet voice from the back of the chamber, they've discovered something we haven't. All heads turned to see Professor Zelnoth of the Academy Collective, a species of beings who had devoted their entire civilization to the pursuit of knowledge. His multiple eyes were fixed on the display showing the battle. Explain, Korvax demanded. The Andromeda incident occurred because the precursors tried to weaponize dark matter using conventional energy-matter interactions. But what if the humans have found a way to harmonize with dark matter instead of controlling it? Dr. Kim's voice came through the communication system. Having overheard the conversation, Professor Zelnoth is correct. We didn't try to control dark matter. We asked it to work with us. The chamber fell silent. The concept was so alien to the elder races that they struggled to comprehend it. For millions of years, they had sought to dominate the forces of the universe. The idea of cooperation with fundamental forces was beyond their understanding. Impossible. Yaleth's thoughts pressed against every mind. Dark matter is not sentient. It cannot cooperate. Can't it? Chen's voice carried a note of wonder. We've discovered that consciousness itself might be a fundamental force of the universe. Our dark matter drives don't just manipulate energy, they convince reality to be more flexible. On the display, the human fleet was demonstrating capabilities that shouldn't have existed. Ships that could exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Weapons that fired through parallel realities to strike targets that thought they were safely hidden. Defensive systems that redirected attacks into pocket dimensions where they harmlessly dissipated. But perhaps most shocking of all was what the humans weren't doing. Despite their overwhelming tactical advantage, they weren't destroying the alien fleet. Instead, they were systematically disabling ships, creating spectacular displays of power while causing minimal casualties. Why? Korvax's voice was barely a whisper. Why aren't you destroying us? Admiral Chen's image appeared on the chamber's main display, transmitted from the bridge of the Prometheus as it phased in and out of normal space around the alien flagship. Because that's not who we are, she said simply. You accused us of being a threat to galactic peace, but peace isn't maintained through fear and domination. It's built through understanding and cooperation. Pretty words, snarled Korvax. But power corrupts all species eventually. Maybe, Chen admitted, but that's a chance we're willing to take. Here's our proposal. Instead of ruling over younger species, why don't we work together? Instead of hoarding knowledge, why don't we share it? Instead of maintaining peace through fear, why don't we build it through mutual respect? The chamber erupted in alien voices, some outraged, others intrigued. The concept of cooperation between species as equals was revolutionary in a galaxy where power had always determined hierarchy. But as the human ships continued their impossible dance through dimensions, demonstrating technologies that made them effectively invincible, it became clear that the old order was ending. The question was, what would replace it? Chapter 4. The New Galactic Order. 3 hours had passed since the battle began, and the alien fleet hung disabled but intact in space. The human ships moved among them like shepherds tending their flock, their dark matter drives allowing them to be everywhere at once. In the council chamber, the representatives of the galaxy's elder races sat in stunned silence. Everything they thought they knew about physics, about power, about the nature of reality itself had been turned upside down. Admiral Chen materialized in the center of the chamber, not through conventional transport, but by stepping through dimensions that existed parallel to normal space. The casual display of impossible technology sent ripples of unease through the assembled aliens. Honored representatives, she began, her voice carrying clearly in the vast space. We find ourselves at a crossroads, the old galaxy, ruled by fear and might, or a new one built on cooperation and shared knowledge. High Arbiter Korvax's reptilian features twisted with rage and confusion. You speak of cooperation while demonstrating the ability to destroy us all. The ability, yes, Chen acknowledged, but not the intention. If we wanted to conquer the galaxy, we could have done so in the past hour. Instead, we disabled your weapons and left your life support intact. We could have destroyed your fleets, but we chose to preserve them. Professor Zelnoth of the Academy Collective leaned forward, his multiple eyes gleaming with scientific curiosity. Admiral Chen, your species has achieved something that the greatest minds in the galaxy deemed impossible. How? Dr. Kim stepped through dimensional space to appear beside her admiral, her scientific instrument still recording readings that defied conventional understanding. We stopped trying to conquer the universe and started trying to understand it. Dark matter isn't just exotic matter. It's the universe's way of connecting everything together. We learned to listen to it instead of trying to control it. Listen to matter? Archon Vex's mechanical voice carried skeptical tones. Matter is not conscious, isn't it? Captain Rodriguez appeared in the chamber, his cybernetic eye whirring, as it interfaced with technologies that operated outside normal physics. We've discovered that consciousness might be a fundamental property of the universe, like gravity or electromagnetism. Every particle, every force, every dimension has a kind of awareness. Dark matter is just the universe's way of thinking. The implications hit the assembled representatives like a physical blow. If consciousness was a fundamental force, then every aspect of physics, every law of nature, every technological achievement would need to be reconsidered. Ethereal Prime. Yalith's crystalline form pulsed with agitation. If this is true, then everything we know about reality is incomplete. Not incomplete, Chen corrected gently. Just limited. You've been trying to understand the universe from the outside as observers. We learned to understand it from the inside as participants. And that makes all the difference, Dr. Kim added, her tablet displaying readings that showed the human ships existing simultaneously in multiple dimensions. When you try to control dark matter, it resists. When you cooperate with it, it responds. Our ships don't just manipulate space-time. They convince it to be more flexible. Korvac slammed his staff against the floor, the sound echoing through the chamber. Fine words. But what prevents your species from using this power to dominate others? What stops you from becoming the very tyrants you claim to oppose? Chen was quiet for a long moment, considering the question. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of genuine introspection. Nothing, she admitted. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. That's as true for humans as for any species. But we've built safeguards into our technology that we hope will prevent that corruption. What kind of safeguards? Demanded Archon Vex. Dr. Kim activated her tablet, displaying a complex diagram that showed the internal structure of the dark matter drives. The technology only works with consent. Not just the consent of the operators, but the consent of the universe itself. If we use it for conquest, for oppression, for anything that goes against the fundamental harmony of existence, it simply stops working. The universe has a conscience? Professor Zelnoth asked, his scientific mind racing to comprehend the implications. The universe is conscience, Rodriguez replied. Consciousness isn't something that evolved in biological beings. It's a fundamental property of reality. We're all part of the same cosmic awareness, just expressing it in different ways. The chamber buzzed with alien conversations as the representatives tried to process this revolutionary concept. Some species rejected it outright, unable to accept that their understanding of reality was so fundamentally flawed. Others, particularly the more scientifically minded races, began to see the possibilities. Assuming we accept your philosophy, Korvac said slowly, what do you propose? Chen activated a holographic display showing a new model of galactic civilization. Instead of the hierarchical structure that had dominated for millions of years, it showed a network of interconnected species sharing knowledge and resources. We propose a true galactic council, she said. Not ruled by the strongest, but guided by the wisest. Not maintained through fear, but sustained through mutual benefit. Every species, regardless of age or technology level, gets an equal voice. Impossible, scoffed a representative from the hegemony worlds. Younger species lack the wisdom to govern. Do they? Chen asked. Or do they lack the corruption that comes with age? Sometimes fresh perspective is exactly what's needed. And if species refuse to cooperate? Yalith's thoughts pressed against every mind in the chamber. If they choose conquest over collaboration, then they'll find that the universe itself opposes them. Dr. Kim replied. Dark matter is everywhere, connecting everything. Species that work in harmony with the cosmic consciousness will find their technologies enhanced. Those that work against it will find their tools failing at crucial moments. You're talking about fundamental changes to the nature of civilization itself, Professor Zelnoth observed. Yes, Chen agreed, because the old way isn't working. Look around you, a galaxy maintained through fear, where the strong prey on the weak, where knowledge is hoarded instead of shared. That's not civilization, that's barely controlled chaos. Korvax was quiet for several minutes, his ancient mind wrestling with concepts that challenged everything he had believed for millennia. Finally, he spoke. And if we refuse your proposal? If we choose to maintain the old order? Chen's expression was sad but resolute. Then you'll find yourselves increasingly isolated in a universe that's moving beyond you. Other species will learn what we've learned. The cosmic awareness will awaken in them as well. The choice isn't whether change will come, it's whether you'll be part of shaping it. The chamber fell silent as the weight of the decision pressed down on the assembled representatives. They were being asked to abandon millions of years of tradition, to embrace concepts that challenged their most fundamental beliefs about the nature of reality. But outside the chamber, human ships continued their impossible dance through dimensions, living proof that the universe was far stranger and more wonderful than anyone had imagined. The old galaxy was ending. The question was whether its inhabitants would help build the new one. Epilogue. The cosmic dawn 6 months after what historians would call the day of impossible physics. The galaxy was transforming in ways no one could have predicted. Admiral Chen stood on the observation deck of New Harmony Station, a joint construction project between 17 different species. The station itself was a marvel, built using a combination of human dark matter manipulation, Vorthak engineering expertise, ethereal energy containment, and silicon core crystalline architecture. It existed partially in normal space and partially in the parallel dimensions that humanity had learned to access, making it effectively indestructible while being completely peaceful in purpose. The latest reports, Admiral, Captain Rodriguez said, approaching with a tablet displaying updates from across the galaxy. 3 more species have successfully integrated cooperative consciousness principles into their technology. The Zealot Empire, surprisingly, has abandoned their expansionist policies after their war fleet simply stopped working when they tried to attack the meditation worlds. Chen smiled. The universe's built-in conscience was proving to be more effective than any weapon. Species that tried to use force found their technologies failing at crucial moments, while those that embraced cooperation discovered capabilities they never knew they possessed. What about the holdouts? She asked. The Domination Pact is still trying to maintain the old order, Rodriguez replied. But their member species are defecting daily. It's hard to maintain an empire based on fear when fear-based technologies stop functioning properly. Dr. Kim joined them at the observation deck, her excitement barely contained. Admiral, you need to see the latest research data. We're not just accessing parallel dimensions anymore. We're beginning to understand how consciousness shapes reality at the quantum level. The implications for medicine, for engineering, for understanding life itself. The Academy Collective has requested permission to establish a joint research facility, Rodriguez added. Professor Zelnoth believes that combining human intuitive approaches with their analytical methods could accelerate our understanding by centuries. Chen nodded, but her attention was drawn to the view outside the station. Ships from dozens of species moved through space in patterns that would have been impossible under the old physics. A Vorthak transport was sharing dimensional space with an ethereal exploration vessel, both ships existing in the same location while remaining completely separate. It was a perfect metaphor for the new galactic civilization they were building. Unity without uniformity, cooperation without assimilation. There's something else, Dr. Kim said quietly. The deep space monitoring stations have detected something extraordinary. Signals from outside our galaxy, other cosmic consciousnesses, awakening to the same principles we've discovered. We are not alone in this transformation. The implications sent a chill of excitement through Chen. If other galaxies were undergoing similar awakenings, then what they had started here was part of something much larger, a fundamental evolution in how intelligence related to the universe itself. Admiral Chen, came a familiar voice over the communication system. It was High Arbiter Korvax, though his title had changed to Cooperation Facilitator in the new galactic structure. The council session is about to begin. Today's agenda includes the Mentari System Integration Proposal and the establishment of the Interdimensional Ethics Committee. Chen shook her head in amazement. 6 months ago, Korvax had been ready to eliminate humanity. Now he was one of the most enthusiastic advocates for the new cooperative model. The transformation hadn't been easy for him, or for any of the elder species, but the results spoke for themselves. Crime rates had plummeted across the galaxy as violent impulses simply stopped working. Resource conflicts had virtually disappeared as species learned to share rather than compete. Scientific advancement had accelerated exponentially as knowledge flowed freely between civilizations. "We'll be right there," Chen replied. She turned to her companions. "Ready for another day of changing the universe?" Rodriguez grinned. "Always. Though I have to admit I never thought I'd see the day when galactic politics would become peaceful." "Not peaceful," Dr. Kim corrected. "Harmonious. There's still conflict, still disagreement, still competition, but it's constructive now, focused on creation rather than destruction." As they made their way to the council chamber, Chen reflected on the journey that had brought them here. Humanity had faced extinction and instead had sparked a transformation that was reshaping the entire galaxy. They had discovered that the universe itself was conscious, that cooperation was more powerful than domination, and that sometimes the youngest voice in the room had the most important things to say. The chamber they entered was unlike anything that had existed before. Representatives from over 300 species sat not in hierarchical arrangements, but in a spiral pattern that allowed every voice to be heard equally. The discussions were passionate but respectful, guided by the understanding that every perspective contributed to the whole. "The Mentari integration proposal is approved," announced the session facilitator, a rotating position held by different species each month. "Welcome to our newest members in the Galactic Cooperation." Chen watched as representatives from the Mentari system, a previously isolated group of ocean worlds, took their seats in the chamber. Like so many species before them, they had initially resisted the new model, only to discover that isolation was becoming impossible in a universe that rewarded connection. "Next item," the facilitator continued, "the proposal to establish contact, protocols for the extragalactic signals Dr. Kim's team has detected." This was the frontier that excited Chen most. If the consciousness awakening was happening across the universe, then perhaps they were witnessing the birth of a truly cosmic civilization, one that spanned not just their galaxy but all of existence. The debate that followed was vigorous but constructive. Some species urged caution, worried about the implications of contact with alien galaxies. Others pushed for immediate attempts at communication, excited by the possibilities. But all voices were heard, all perspectives considered. In the end, they reached a consensus that reflected the new galactic philosophy. They would proceed carefully but boldly, guided by curiosity rather than fear, cooperation rather than competition. As the session concluded and the representatives began to disperse, Chen remained in her seat looking up at the chamber's transparent dome. Beyond it, the galaxy spread out in all its glory. Billions of stars, trillions of worlds, countless forms of life, all beginning to understand their connection to each other and to the cosmos itself. "Penny, for your thoughts?" Rodriguez asked, settling into the seat beside her. "I was thinking about how far we've come," Chen replied. 6 months ago, we were facing extinction. Now we're part of something that spans the entire universe. And it's just the beginning, Dr. Kim added, joining them. Every day we discover new aspects of cosmic consciousness, New ways that cooperation enhances our capabilities. The universe is so much more amazing than we ever imagined. Chen nodded, then stood and walked to the dome's edge. In the distance, she could see the construction sites where new joint projects were taking shape. Ships that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, research stations that could communicate instantaneously across galactic distances, habitats that adapted themselves to their inhabitants' needs. But more importantly, she could see the less visible changes, species that had been enemies for millions of years working side by side, ancient knowledge being shared freely with younger civilizations, fear being replaced by curiosity, suspicion by trust, domination by cooperation. You know what the best part is, she said finally. We're still recognizably human. The technology didn't change who we are. It revealed who we've always been. Explorers, builders, dreamers who refuse to accept that things can't get better.
And now the whole galaxy is learning to dream with us, Rodriguez observed. Chen smiled, watching as a human transport ship phased through dimensions to dock with the station. Through the transparent hull, she could see children from a dozen
different species looking out at the stars with wonder and excitement. They were growing up in a galaxy where cooperation was natural, where diversity was celebrated, where the universe itself was a partner in their adventures. Ladies and gentlemen, she said softly, I think we're going to like the future. Outside the station, space itself seemed to pulse with approval, as if the universe was smiling at the children it had taught to dream. The dark matter warships had indeed stunned the Galactic Space Council into silence. But from that silence had emerged something far more powerful than any weapon, the sound of countless species learning to sing in harmony with the cosmos itself. And this was just the beginning. The end.